What's up kitchen table wizards, what's up deck brewers from all over the world? You have come to the right place if you want some inspiration to brew yourself a nice fat rodent deck, a nice squirrel deck. Now we have Toski, we have Chatterfang, and your opponent, they will not know what hit them when you attack them with an army of big fat trampling squirrels. So, without further ado, let's head into the deck. Now, if you follow my channel, you might know that this is not going to be my first take on the squirrel deck. No, a while back I went into a deep forest, had a chat with a deep forest hermit. Was a little bit weird, but yeah, I'll put a link here if you want to check out the deck. It was a pretty fun deck, but this time we're going to venture even deeper in the forest. We're going to the grim backwoods. We're going into the dark forest to build with Chatterfang Squirrel General. Now, before I jump into the deck, a little shout out to our partner Cardmarket. They keep on supporting the show and they are the best place to get your Magic singles in Europe. Do check them out. And if you want to try them out, you haven't done this before, I even got a nice gift for you. In the description below the video, you can find all the information how you can claim your free €5 cardmarket voucher just to try it out and to buy yourself a booster or maybe some singles. Do check it out, send me an email and I'll hook you up with cardmarket. Now let's jump into the forest and check out some squirrels. Now my decks here on this channel are around $50 around 40 euros, and this deck I promise you will get to that price, although now at the recording of this video a lot of prices are elevated because a lot of cards just came out. Now if you want to find out how you can build a Magic collection without spending too much money, definitely check out this video here. Now the first thing we need to do when we're going to build ourselves a nice squirrel deck, apart from liking this video, thank you, is of course to go to a forest, and there we will find ourselves some nice basic lands. As this is mainly a green deck, I play a lot more forest than swamps. And as we play squirrels, we need to have some nice trees on both arts for our basics. I think these two designs from M21 fit really well in the squirrel deck. In this deck we splash black as a support color, but we do want to have enough sources of black mana available. So I added a dartboard pathway which can give both green and black mana, and also a Necro Blossom Snarl. Decampus lands are not only useful to fix our mana, but in the late game you can also have a little bit of scry action. And scry action you can also find on this Temple of Melody. Llanowar Waste is also a great mana fixture in black and green that you can use also on the turn you play it. Now some of our squirrels, they have a gingerbread cabin as a luxury vacation home, so let's put this in as well. And the reason I want to play this land is because it also makes a token, which is handy with our general Chatterfang. Now this is also the reason I added these Scamfar Elder Halls. As more tokens, with Chatterfang means more squirrels. Now our Chatterfang has Forest Walk, so this means that this land will come in handy, as now all lands will also be forest, making Chatterfang unblockable. Now you can also give your whole army Forest Walk. Now I didn't include the card in the deck that does this, but here it is anyway, just a little bonus for you to know it exists. Now let's look at some more lands. When I play a predominantly green deck, I need to include this split card. It's just so much value having a land or getting the best card out of your graveyard into your hand. So this is probably the reason I will not be playing Regrowth anymore in my decks. Although this art from the Mystical Archives is really cool, so I might hesitate next time I build a green deck. Now, our squirrels in this deck, they have kind of a dark vibe, and they can be found in these grim backwoods. With all the tokens in the deck, this is a solid include to draw you some extra cards versus control decks. Another card that's great against control decks with a lot of spot removal is this Swarm Yard. It even has a secret layer squirrel version, but you can also opt for the cheaper version. So this was our land base. Now here we go, it's creature time, it's squirrel time. We start with two angry ravenous squirrels. This aggressive 1-drop can get big when you sacrifice your tokens. And you can even use it to sacrifice creatures or artifacts to draw some extra cards. Scurried Colony is our defense against flying creatures. And in the late game, this red-eyed furry friend often becomes a 5/5 or a 6/6 in this deck. We also play one squirrel in disguise called the Masked Vandal. And this is also a squirrel that can deal with artifacts and enchantments. Now, if you follow my channel, you know I like diverse decks with a lot of different cards in it. But our squirrels, they really needed some power. So in this case, I put in a playset. Because this Squirrel Sovereign is needed to boost up our squirrel team. It's our Squirrel Lord that gives other squirrels +1/+1, just what we need for 2 mana. Now I also wanted to include this Curry Oak, a tree folk that likes squirrels. And it has a fun synergy with our token makers and Squirrel Lords, making a lot of squirrel tokens. Then I also included 2 copies of the Squirrel Mob, a reprint from Odyssey that can get very big in this deck. Now, the main reason I wanted to brew a squirrel deck is of course because of this card. Here is Chatterfang Squirrel General. This guy has Forest Walk, it's a 3/3 for 3 mana. And now the cool part is, if 1 or more tokens are created, you add an extra squirrel token for each token that enters the battlefield. Now the card also has a built-in removal power-up ability, and for this you can pay 1 black mana, sacrifice a bunch of squirrels to give target creature +X/-X until end of turn. So having token makers in a deck is really cool with Chatterfang. So I went to look for some tireless token makers. Both Tireless Tracker and Tireless Provisioner make tokens whenever a land enters the battlefield. And with Chatterfang out, this means we will also get a bunch of squirrels delivered when you get a clue, a food token or a treasure token. Now sometimes when you play a creature deck and you're up against the opponent who plays a lot of mass removal, you run out of cards. But luckily when this happens, we also have a legendary squirrel to help us out. Toski Bearer of Secrets is pretty hard to get rid of. He can't be countered, he's indestructible. The only downside is that he's a bit crazy and he must attack each turn if able. However, when Toski is around, every creature that deals combat damage to an opponent draws you a card. And that's amazeballs when you're going white with all your tokens. And if you don't have enough tokens, this Squirrel Druid will be able to help you. By sacrificing lands you don't need, you can create extra squirrels. Or you can even boost your squirrel army for the ultimate squirrel attack. And if you create tokens with Chatterfang, you even get a double amount. Now, between the two of us, we have decided to play squirrels. So our credibility of being a serious Magic player is already out of the window. So nothing can stop us anymore to include a bit more weird funny creatures in this deck. Meet Guillaume. Yes, you have to use a French pronunciation for this one. This Troll Master Chef creates food tokens. So with Chatterfang, that's an extra squirrel for every non-token creature you play. and you can also sacrifice food to save squirrels. So by now it has become clear that we like token makers. Here are two elves that create us some more squirrel tokens. Drake Keeper comes into play with 2 tokens and he can give your squirrels +1/+0 and menace. And when the Deep Forest Hermit enters the battlefield, he creates 4 squirrel tokens. And he also gives all the squirrels +1/+1. Unfortunately, he's quite of an anti-social person, so he won't stick around for too long.
But my cause is the very life.
Yes, exactly, something like that. Now these were all our creatures, but we do need a little bit more token makers. Let's start with this Shatter of the Squirrel, which gives you 2 squirrel tokens. Then there's this Squirrel Sanctuary, which creates a squirrel, and whenever a non-token creature you control dies, he can go to the sanctuary, and then you get a new token. Now creating tokens at instant speed is what we like with this Verdant command. And you get another useful ability alongside with it. And if you want more tokens, sure, that's no problem. Check out this Shitter Spitter. It turns squirrels into acorns, and then back into stronger squirrels, back into acorns, and again and over again. And last but not least, here is also a squirrel nest to make extra squirrels every turn. Now in this deck I also included a lot of support for our furry tree hugging squirrels. So let's look at some support cards. Putrefy and Binding the Old Gods are solid removal spells, and the last one even gives all your squirrels Death Touch for a turn. We are going white, but we also like to add some power to our punch, and that's why I included 2 copies of this Sylvan Anthem. Now sometimes your Chatterfang or Deep Forest Hermit will end up in the graveyard, so in this case you can use a Deadly Brew to get him back. Now if you want to go look for Chatterfang or your other favorite squirrel, this is the card for you. Court of Calling searches a creature and immediately puts it into the battlefield, and it has Convoke, so your squirrel tokens can help to cast it at instant speed. This Evolutionary Leap is also a great enchantment to have when you have a lot of squirrels to sacrifice. To get, you guessed it, more squirrels. Another instant speed favorite is this Plum the Forbidden. Keep this one into your hand until your opponent casts a mass removal spell and start rebuilding your squirrel army on the next turn with a full grip of cards. Now the Song of Freyalise helps you ramp a little bit in the early turns and then prepares you for a big squirrel attack, giving all your squirrels Trample, Vigilance and Indestructible. Now I also included 1 crop rotation to get the exact land you need to fix your mana, or to get that swarm yard to protect your squirrel lords. And let's also try out this Surge of Greatness. Scrying every turn is handy, or playing an extra spell for free is cool as well, because then you have some free mana up for other fun squirrely things. The last and final blow your squirrel army wants to deal is probably with this Overrun. And even though it's at sorcery speed, giving +3/+3 and trample to your Arcorn eating army will be enough to seal the deal. So this was my squirrel deck. If you're still here, give the video a like to support the channel. And also we will find out who won the card market voucher I will give away. Now you can also win a card market voucher. The only thing you need to do is leave a comment and tell me which obscure tribe, other than the squirrels of course, do you want to see me brew a deck around. And maybe in the gauntlet we can have the 2 decks battle it out against each other. Now let's look who won this week. Congratulations, Mark Mahan. Check out the info in the description below the video to find out how you can claim your voucher. And don't forget to vote on your favorite match. I will put a link to our fantasy league. Till next time, remember, always keep it casual.
I do what I feel wanting to come out of me. I'm flowing with my life, with this river, and this is not a cause.